They told us the moon was dead, silent, barren, unchanging. But they were wrong. Something moves beneath the dust, something ancient and aware. No sunlight has ever reached the bottom of Shackleton Crater. For billions of years, its floor has remained frozen in absolute shadow, colder than any place we've measured in the solar system. But last year, we pointed a new sensor there, just to see. What came back wasn't just data. It was a pattern, a chemical signature, too ordered to be natural, too deliberate. At first, we thought it was noise. Then it started repeating, echoing, like a message. But not from us. I was part of the team that reviewed the findings, but I can't sleep anymore. Not since I heard it. Because the signal didn't come from above the surface. It came from below. And if you listen long enough, really listen, you start to feel it listening back. Patterns in chaos are never comforting. Not when they feel intentional. When the data first came in, no one paid attention. A minor anomaly. Some trace compounds buried in shadowed soil. We've seen plenty of those before. But this one was different. The readings weren't random. They pulsed, 12 minutes apart, every time, like a heartbeat frozen in stone. We triple-checked the instruments, ran simulations, swapped out the receivers. Same result. The signal wasn't a glitch. It was real. And it was calling from beneath the surface. We tried to dismiss it, called it residual radiation, echoes from solar wind. But the frequency, it shifted when we adjusted our angle. As if it knew we were listening. As if it changed itself to be heard. One researcher, Dr. Alvarez, kept listening. She mapped the pulses, layer by layer. And that's when she found the structure. Not a formation. A formation implies coincidence. This was geometry. Angles too precise. Symmetry too deliberate. Hidden deep in lunar regolith. We filed a report. Nothing happened. Funding pulled. Team dissolved. But the signal hasn't stopped. It's still transmitting. Slow, patient, unwavering. And last night, I made the mistake of syncing it with my own headset, just to listen one last time. It wasn't a pattern anymore. It was a voice. We thought the void was empty, but even silence can carry memory. We weren't supposed to land. It was only meant to be an orbital scan, one last sweep over the crater. But something shifted in our calculations. The engines fired early, guidance went dark, and suddenly, we were descending. We came down near the rim of Shackleton. The shadows reached for us like frozen hands. Nothing moved, yet every grain of dust felt disturbed, like it had been waiting. The ground was softer than expected. Our boots sank deeper with every step, and there was a smell, impossible, in an airless place, like burnt iron and wet stone. We deployed the drill. At 14 centimeters, the soil went cold, colder than the instruments could read. It vibrated, slowly, rhythmically, not from our equipment. It was coming from the ground itself. That's when we heard it again, not in our ears, in our minds, not words, not language, but intention, something old, something that never forgot. I turned to Alvarez. She was frozen, staring into the borehole, eyes wide and unblinking. "I think," she whispered, "it remembers us." Then the drill jammed, and beneath our feet, something exhaled. We didn't wake it. It was never asleep. We simply reminded it. The drill never restarted. Every system began failing, one by one. Communications scrambled into static. Clocks froze. Even light, our strongest beam, dimmed unnaturally near the borehole. Alvarez was the first to collapse, not from injury, from pressure. She clutched her head and screamed, not from pain, but from knowledge. "I saw it," she gasped. "It's not underground. It is the ground." We tried to evacuate, but the lander's systems refused. Navigation became meaningless. The coordinates spun like a compass caught in a magnetic storm. And then came the visions. Not hallucinations. No, these were memories. but not ours. Images of oceans boiling into blackness, stars blinking out in unnatural patterns, voices whispering in harmonies no human throat could produce. One message repeated over and over inside our skulls: "You stand where life was buried." And I understood, not emotionally, but completely, like it had been etched into my being. The moon isn't dead, it's dreaming, and we were just loud enough to make it turn in its sleep. Not all escapes mean freedom. Sometimes survival is just a longer form of madness. I don't know how I got back to the lander. Alvarez was gone, not missing, erased. Her suit was there, empty, like she'd been peeled out of existence. The instruments kept flickering, words in no language, symbols that looked carved by memory itself. Every attempt to launch failed. The engines would prime, then sputter. Gravity felt heavier, like the moon no longer wanted to let go. I stopped eating. Time broke apart. My thoughts unraveled into spirals. I began to dream while awake. In those dreams, I was not alone. There were shapes, long folding geometries that didn't obey physics. They moved through rock like mist, and they watched. One of them whispered something into me, not into my ear, but into the pattern of my thinking. "Go back," it said. "Speak what you've seen. Let them remember." Then, suddenly, I was in orbit. No memory of launch, just blackness, and then Earth rising over the lunar curve. I transmitted this message the moment systems allowed it, but I know it's not over, because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel the moon looking back. Some doors don't need to be opened. Some only need to be noticed. I've returned to Earth, but I don't belong here anymore. They ran their tests, checked my blood, my mind, my memories. All came back clean. No contamination, no anomalies. But they don't see what I see. When I sleep, I drift, not in dreams, but into geometry. Impossible shapes folding into themselves, echoing the patterns beneath the lunar soil. I've started drawing them. I don't remember doing it, but I wake up with symbols scratched into my walls, circles within angles, spirals with no center. Alvarez is in my head, or something that was her. It speaks without words. It wants us to return. Worse, it's not just calling scientists now. It's reaching others, pilots, children, politicians, whispering across dreams and screens. The moon is no longer quiet. I sent this as a warning, but I know it won't be received as one. Curiosity always wins. They're already planning another mission, deeper, larger, permanent. I begged them not to go back, but I can still hear the signal, and it's growing louder. We didn't discover the moon. We reawakened it.